37 on our way, maybe near 60 today. Don't hold your breath, but we hope. 817, and we're joined this morning on Top Story with Bill Colley on KLIX, as we are periodically by Congressman Raul Labrador. First of all, I'd like to say, Congressman, welcome back to the show.
It's great to be on your show. Good morning.
Right off the top, I happened to see a piece, I think it was yesterday or the day before, at Daily Signal that mentioned that Andy Harris may end up making a challenge. There's two caucuses, conservative caucuses in the House, one of which you're a member of. He's looking to be the leader of the other, but the story I read said that he felt that the two caucuses sometimes were at arm's length and that he felt that he was the man who could bring this together. And I asked this question because I used to live about 15 miles from Andy's district, and at the time we had John Carney as our rep, and we all longed or pined for at least a Republican, and Harris seemed like the answer for a lot of us. Is there going to be some sort of a change that you see on the way in Congress, or is this just somebody saying, I'd like this, but doesn't really have much of an opportunity?
Well, Andy has a really good chance. Andy's a very strong conservative. He's a very likable guy. He's been a member of both the RSC and the House Freedom Caucus. And I think if anybody can do it, Andy can do it. And I just don't know. I can't tell right now whether there's enough conservatives in the House to allow Andy to win. The establishment has been running the RSC now for the last three terms. And we're hoping that Andy has that opportunity to lead the RSC, and we'll see. The election will happen right after our November election. We'll go back a week and a half later, and we will hold these RSC leadership elections, and we'll see if Andy has a good opportunity. I think he's a very likable person, and I think many people, even people who are not members of the Freedom Caucus, realize that the conservative movement has been a little bit split in the House, and that the RSC should not be doing the bidding of the leadership. It should actually be the conscience of the conference. That was the entire purpose of the Republican Study Committee, was to have a group that reminded the Republican conference the promises that we made. They have forgotten that over the last few years, and that's why we created the Freedom Caucus. So it would be great to have Andy, and I think he has a good chance.
Now, there's a lot of talk too about the future of Paul Ryan as Speaker, and I listen to the media, and I don't buy any of this talk that there'll be a change in power in the House. I mean, you could see a seat change here or there, but obviously, there's going to be a lot of question. Do Republicans stick with Paul Ryan in the future? And there had been some discussion that his people were trying to make some changes in the rules in order to prevent his removal. What's news with all of that?
Well, those are two different topics. I'll address the issue of the rules change first, which is the most esoteric part of it. The rules change, I don't think should happen. Paul Ryan has no problem during the rules change would change what we can do in the middle of a session, which is what happened with John Boehner. If you remember, one of our members, Mark Meadows, filed a motion that would have required a new vote on the Speaker of the House, and that happened because we felt that John Boehner had made certain promises to get us to vote for him, and he didn't keep those promises, and that happened in the middle of the term. I don't think it's likely that would happen under Paul Ryan or anybody else. But the real fight's going to be in the beginning of the term. It's going to be now, again, during those leadership elections right after November. And I don't know that Paul Ryan has the votes to win in the caucus. I'm not sure that he has the votes to win on the House floor. The Speaker of the House, as you know, is not just the leader of the Republican Party. He also is, or he or she is somebody that gets voted on the House floor. So you have to have a majority of the people voting on the House floor in order to become Speaker of the House. And there's a group of 30 to 40 people that I think right now are having a hard time thinking about Paul Ryan as the Speaker of the House in the 30 or 40 Republicans. And I think Paul Ryan may have a problem. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how he navigates this. So so I don't know what the outcome is going to be, to be honest with you.
We're at 8:22, and our guest is Congressman Raul Labrador, 36 right now. Bill Colley with you on KLIX as well. If there was, and I'm not asking you to throw him under the bus, but if for instance he said he would step down or step away, would there be someone among the Republicans that you think would be an excellent choice to replace him?
Well, again, I don't know what's going to happen. There are a lot of Republicans. This is one of the myths of Washington D.C. You know, you have a lot of people who say, "Oh, Paul Ryan's the only person who can get a majority," and I just don't think that's true. Now, I don't know that there's anybody who's ultra conservative who could get a majority of the conference, but there's some really good people back there. You know, I last time when we were talking about a new speaker, I was a big fan of Rob Bishop. Rob Bishop is a congressman from Utah who was the Speaker of the House of Utah. He's a very good conservative who understands what's happening in Washington, but who's also frustrated with some of the things that have not changed. I think Rob Bishop would be a great Speaker of the House. I think there's a number of people who would be great speakers of the House. I think Jim Jordan, who's the leader of the Freedom Caucus, would be a great Speaker of the House. I think there's good people that understand that the voters are frustrated and they need to listen to the voters. In fact, I have said this on your show, and I've said it on many other shows. One of the reasons we have Donald Trump as the nominee of the Republican Party is because Republicans are so frustrated with their leadership, and they're frustrated with people saying one thing to get elected and something else when they go back to Washington, D.C. They want us to stand up for our principles. It was interesting. Barack Obama just did a recent interview in the New Yorker. And in that interview, he said that he was praising Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in Congress because they were willing to fall on their sword for the policies that they believe in. And he was talking about Obamacare and all these other issues. And that sometimes is the difference between Republicans and Democrats. Democrats will actually fight for the principles that they believe in and will fall on their sword. Republicans claim that they believe in certain principles, but they're not willing to fight for those principles. And the reason you saw the rise of Donald Trump is that people didn't even believe that somebody like Ted Cruz would be the person who would fight for those principles, even though we all know that he's willing to do it. They wanted somebody new who was just going to either change the place or blow it up. That's how frustrated people are.
Yeah.
And we need leaders in the Republican Party that can articulate those principles in a way that people believe that they're standing up for what they believe in.
I know we're pressed for time, and you've got about a minute left, but two endorsements. Well, one is an endorsement from a group that is praising you, obviously, for the fact that you're a bit of a fiscal hawk when it comes to budgets and the like, and they're against government waste. And the other is this organization called Human Rights Campaign, I believe, which puts you in the Hall of Shame along with Mike Lee. Both of those, I think, are endorsements in a way that will help you out come Election Day. Would you agree?
I had not heard about the second one, but yes, I am a bit of a fiscal hawk. Is probably an understatement. I am a strong fiscal hawk. That's the main reason I went to Washington, D.C., is to make sure that we stop spending other people's money, that we actually get to a balanced budget, and that we do the things that are necessary for us to make these tough decisions. We have a $20 trillion debt. I don't know anything about the other Hall of Shame. I think it's unfortunate, but I think I believe strongly in religious freedom. I believe that people should be allowed to believe what they believe and without government interference.
Amen.
And I think some people want to use the government as a tool for social change, and I think that's completely inappropriate.
Well, we want to say good luck on Election Day, and we look forward to talking to you after re-election.
Hey, thank you so much.
Have a great day, Congressman. Congressman Raul Labrador joining us this morning on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Just to give you a little background, this organization, it calls itself the Human Rights Campaign. And before the congressman joined us, of course, I was talking about religious liberty And I really don't believe that the other side wants to compromise on anything. But let's put that out there and see if they'll accept that, and then let the media finally sort all of this out and realize that they're supporting media itself is supporting a lot of people out there who actually have very totalitarian attitudes about, well, when it comes to those of us who have religious beliefs, they would like to essentially stamp those out. But this was the story that I was referring to. It's at a website, and the website is called, it's out of Salt Lake City, but it's called Salt Lake Magazine. So it is probably more of a liberal publication. Even in Utah, you get a few of those. And the headline that caught my attention the other day was this: Human Rights Campaign inducts Utah Senator Mike Lee in Congressional Hall of Shame. And what they've done is they put a picture of Ted Cruz and Mike Lee here together. Well, the two are best friends in the U.S. Senate. I'll put a photograph of them here, so you know you're supposed to obviously look at the picture and go, "Aha, Ted Cruz." And if you're a liberal, that even makes you angrier. And then it mentions also included on this list are Representative Louis Gohmert from Texas, and it mentions Representative Steve King from Iowa. Steve Russell is a representative from Oklahoma. All of these people are in flyover country, we should point out. Representative Robert Pittenger, he's a Republican from North Carolina. Bradley Byrne, a Republican from Alabama. Scott Garrett, Republican from New Jersey. And also it says, and Representative Raul Labrador. And it says because he has supported religious freedom. That to me, it just tells you that we're dealing with people out there who have no conception of what it is to have some sort of religious belief in your life. And because of that, I remember many years ago hosting a radio show, and some guy called me up because the topic had been one of what we used to call the social issues. And he said, "Well, we need to be talking about things that really matter to people." And I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, we got to talk about the economy." And I said, "Well, but people who go to church, the religious issues matter to them." And he couldn't fathom that, you understand, because he didn't. So why is it a big deal to you? So they don't have any sense of compromise. I do want to thank the congressman, and we do wish him well because he is one of those voices in Washington that we definitely still need there. We've got Better Health with Trip Family Medicine on the way on KLIX in just a few minutes. It's 39 at 8:30.